wonderful CSPA new coach one, Veronique. Veronique, I can never say your last name, McCune. I can't even. It's French. Anyways,
Motai.
Veronique is here. She's going to give the portion on the flight. And let me stop sharing my screen. And look at you already unmuted yourself. Sneaky. I love it.
I had to say my last name properly.
There you go. Veronique, the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Very exciting year coming up. I'm going to be talking about in flight, when you're in the plane, getting ready to be in the plane as group arrangements and all. We're going to start with some basic rules. At SVI, we don't really wear seatbelts, but generally we have to wear seatbelts until 1,500 feet, helmets on as well, secured until 1,500 feet. And then always move slow in the plane. And can you please give me space? Thank you. I have a child here that's trying to be a coach, apparently. Yeah, so once you're in the plane, make sure you ask your pilot what's the safety concern in the plane, making sure you're not touching anything. Little Cessnas that are drop zones are pretty small, so we want to make sure we're not touching any controls or where we're sitting. So that's about the rules for in the plane for that. There's another big rule: do not fart. Dustin, that's for you again this year. Hopefully that's fine. And then also, before you get in the plane, make sure that you ask everyone who's around what people are doing on their load. You want to make sure that you're not fucking up the load with people all mixed and matched. The recommended exit order from the PIM to be is obviously lower altitude first. Exiting the plane, you have FS, solos, belly, free fly, and then obviously students, tandems are always last unless there's wingsuiters. Make sure you all discuss together who's doing what, so then you are aware. Also know your plane, how you exit the plane, muck up before you get on the plane. It's a really good thing. Sometimes we have the sky van. You want to know if you have to open the door or not. SVI, we have the pilot that opens and close the door, so you don't have to worry about that. But if ever you do at the boogie, you go in the sky van, make sure that you know how to open or close the door if you have to deal with it, or ask someone that's tall, because I've never had to deal with it. I'm way too terrified to deal with the plane with the door with the sky van. We're gonna move on with spotting, which is a big thing. Know your aircraft again. Most airplane nowadays have a GPS around, but still, even with the GPS, make sure that you know where you have to spot, where you have to go. Make sure you debrief on the ground. We have an info board, especially at SVI. It says the wind, ground speeds, and everything. Make sure if you don't know how to read it, ask for a coach, an instructor, or the DZO for more guidance. We have map on where we have to look at. So that's super important to know where to look. If it's your first time jumping at a DZ, make sure also you ask. It better be safe than sorry. And then as soon as the door opens, make sure you're ready beforehand. You don't want to hold the door too long. Make sure you look underneath if there's any planes underneath, clouds, if you can see the drop zone. Sometimes the pilot goes, but you're not necessarily where you want to be. So don't be afraid to ask. Also, you could ask your pilot prior if the wind has changed. They will update you most of the time if ever the winds have changed. But it's good to know if you need to give more separation between the jumpers. Especially at SVI, we fly about 80 miles per hour, so it's about 8 seconds between each groups. So make sure you count for that. And when the prior group has jumped, make sure you start counting then, because you don't want to create more delays. We have low Cessna, so it's never really a big issue climbing out, but you need to make sure you account for that. Sometimes you have students that take longer to exit. And then if ever you do see that you're much further now than your spotting location, that's okay to ask your pilot to turn around. You don't want to compromise your jump and then be stressed about it. That's that for that. And then we're going to go for emergency exit. Basically, the basic rule, again, is follow what your pilot says. He's going to tell you what to do in any case of emergency. That's annoying. Please stop. Be altitude aware. If the pilot asks you to exit, if you're exiting anytime below 2,500 feet, that's straight to reserve. So make sure you know that. And that's about it for emergency exit. Obviously, if ever there's any snag, there's any gear malfunction in the plane, make sure that you let everyone know what's going on. Same would go for any someone exiting the plane and something is snagged, either push them out or, you know, you want to save their life and your life if ever, you know, pilot chute is stuck in the door or something. Make sure that's not happening, which is also an important thing when you jump from the plane. You don't want to create any snag from any of your gear, or especially I've seen many people jumping and exiting and ride the slide, and then they have their pilot chute getting caught by the door slightly. So you really want to make sure that you look at that. You're really aware of all your equipment around you, especially nowadays. Now people have big long GoPros and all that around them. So make sure that you look at that. So that's it for emergency exit. During the flight, you want to make sure that you do what they call the 3x3 check. So 3 handles, 3 straps, 3 accessories, and 2 pins. I know Brendan already said you do that before boarding, but also do it before you exit the plane. Make sure that everything is ready to go. Sometimes in plane, the pin has popped, or the pilot chute is out. So you want to make sure that you're good to go. Ask for a buddy check if ever in the plane, especially students or novices, you want to get checked. Or, I mean, obviously more experienced jumper, they can look at their pin. So make sure that you've looked at your gear, know your jump run, exit path, track direction, landing direction prior to boarding as well. And again, if something has changed, the pilot's going to let you know. So that's it for checks. Make sure for relaxation and breathing in the plane as well, especially again for novices and newer jumpers. You want to make sure that you have good breathing techniques. It can be really nerve-wracking to climb up and then all the way up till the door opens. It's loud, it's windy, it's scary. You're still pretty new at it. So practice some breathing technique. Do yoga maybe with me or Sandy in the morning just to calm you down. So that's for technique. Make sure you mentally rehearse the performances you're going to do at least 3 times during the climb up, or as many times as you need, obviously, but make sure that you're really mentally prepared and ready for your jump. And you do it safely. You take your time, no rush, no big movements. And I think that's it from my notes. Allison can confirm if I missed something.
You're awesome. Love how you handle your kids. Everybody, you know what? Kids happen.
They
Whether
do.
we want them or not, they
They do.
happen. But we love your kids just as much as you. One thing I just want to add, of course, in the case of airplane emergencies, you know, it is in PIMS and we have stuff set out there too. It can be different at different drop zones. So just make sure that you ask, if you're going to a new drop zone, what is their procedures? And it's also really important to know, for example, part of our climb is near mountains. So yeah, you might be at 4,000 feet, but that mountainside might only be, you know, 2,000 feet below you. So it's really understanding, you know, where is your climb, what's happening, but talk to your drop zone. You know, especially if you're going to new drop zones, it's really important. I know one of our skydivers, experienced a plane crash this year, and certainly is willing to talk and share about that and their experience on that. But it's right in that moment. Veronique, you hit on the information perfectly. It is good to know what the general information is, but talk to your drop zones as well. We do
Yeah.
follow the CSPA recommendations for emergencies, but again, being aware that sometimes our climb brings us by Mount Arrowsmith, for example.
Or sometimes the ocean.
Or the ocean, yes. We have that factor too.
Yeah.
Is there any questions for Veronique? So far, I see of none. I know my pilots would just tell you, do not grab the seat. Do not
Yes.
hold onto the seat. Don't pull on that. So just that was one thing, just personally to SVI, or if you're at a Cessna drop zone, don't hold on to the pilot seat. Perfect, Ronnie. I'm going to mute you away.